Hi, this is Dr. Liza Seigido. So I'm surrounded by a mess right now. What am I doing? Well, I am rebuilding my project studio to include stage lights for aesthetics. It's really nice to work in a beautiful environment, but also I want my live streams and my video conferences to look beautiful as well. And so I'm going to give you a quick and dirty look at how I'm going to set up my stage lighting system in my project studio. Why is this relevant? Because this is the same way you would set up a multi-channel DMX lighting system, special effects system in a theater. At a theater, you'd be dealing with more light fixtures and perhaps a larger DMX operator that can handle more than one universe. Let's get started. So the first thing I have to do is address my lights before I plug it into my DMX operator. I'm working with two multi-channel parkans today. So today I'm setting up two of these OPPSK RGBW parkans. These particular fixtures have 8 channels of control, and it's important to know that because I need to address these fixtures. Addressing is akin to setting a receive channel in a MIDI system. Okay, so how do I address? This is the first light in my system. It has 8 channels, so this channel will be working with faders 1 through 8 on my DMX operator. I work with DMXis. Software DMX operators are way more flexible than their hardware counterparts. I like DMXis because it can be launched as a VST inside of a DAW, which means that you can automate your lighting scenes to music. All right. And it also has a MIDI learn feature, which I will demo in a few minutes. So the software is free to download in order to be able to use your DMXis system with a lighting system in a theater, for example. You're going to need its hardware interface. You can purchase the hardware interface on Enttec.com. All right, back to my RCAN. Again, this can has 8 channels of control. It's the first light in my system. That means it's going to be using up channels 1 through 8 on my DMX operator. And I have to set its receive channels, its address. How do I do that? I flip the light over. You'll notice that this light has its own individual power cable. Indoor DMX fixtures need to be powered individually, connected to the mains individually. The wiring of outdoor fixtures is a little different. The cable used to daisy chain lights in an outdoor DMX system also sends power to all of the fixtures in the daisy chain. But for and those fixtures are more expensive than indoor fixtures. But for regular run-of-the-mill indoor DMX systems, you have to be able to send power to each individual fixture. So I'm going to plug this in so that I can go ahead and address this fixture. All right. Right now, it's in one of its automated modes. I'm going to set it to DMX mode. All right. Now, I know that this is in DMX mode now because I see a D, and it's telling me it's addressed to channel 1. This is an 8-channel light fixture, and channels 1 through 8 on my DMX operator are going to be dedicated to sending information to this light. Okay? Okay, so I addressed the first fixture in my system. Now I'm going to address the second fixture in my system. This is the second light in my system. It is the same type of light as the first light. It's an RGBW LED parkan with 8 channels. That means that this is going to need 8 faders here on my DMX operator to program. Now, if light number 1 is receiving information from channels 1 through 8 on my DMX operator, that means this fixture needs to be addressed to channel 9. And that means that channels 9 through 16 are going to control this light. So I need to address this light now to channel 9. We'll see that when we get a D. Okay. All right, and this one is already set to DMX channel 9. You'll notice that I have a little widget thing sticking out of the output of this light. That is a DMX terminator. You're going to need a DMX terminator on the output of the last light in your daisy chain. Okay, now that my 2 lights are properly addressed, now I can interconnect them. Now we're going to interconnect our lights. What with? Well, with our DMX data cables. Now there are 2 types of DMX data cables. There are male and female 5-pin DIN cables, and then there are XLR DMX data cables. Now it's important to note that the 5-pin DIN DMX data cables are not the same as MIDI DMX data cables. MIDI data cables both have male connectors on both ends of the cable. DMX 5-pin DIN has a male connector on one side and a female connector on the other side so that they can be interconnected. Now, visually, an XLR DMX data cable looks like a microphone cable, but they are not the same thing and they are not interchangeable. Audio XLR cables have a copper shielding inside. DMX XLR have an aluminum shielding inside, and if you use an audio cable as your DMX data cable, you are going to burn out your system. If you're like me that has lots of audio cables and lots of DMX cables hanging around, make sure to store them separately. But something that's good to note as well, most of the DMX cables that I've used have the words DMX printed somewhere on the cable. So the first thing I'm going to do is go from the output of my DMX operator into the input of my first light. Now I'm going to go from the output of my first light into the input of my second. Now you won't be able to program your lighting scenes without studying the spec sheet of your light fixtures. So if you ever get a gig or programming lights in a theater, you're gonna want to ask for the stage plot plus the spec sheet for each type of light you'll be working with. The spec sheet is usually available in the fixtures manual. Let's take a look at the spec sheet or DMX channel sheet for these 2 Parkins. All right, so the DMX channel form or spec sheet or DMX channel sheet tells you how many channels the light has, how many functions it has, and what channel configurations give you access to those functions, and which channels help you to tweak the parameters of each function. What I want to do right now is access the RGBW dimming function on these lights. That's the most basic function on any LED fixture. So by looking at this spec sheet, I can see that channel 1 is mostly for encoding which function you want to access. So channel 1 is going to be set to 0. Taking a look at channel 2, if I want to be able to mix between R, G, B, and W, I need to set channel 2 to 210 or 225. So I'm just going to send it all the way set channel 2 all the way up to 225. Now channel 3, as you can see for this light, is dedicated to functions that need speed adjustments, like strobing, for example. I just want to be able to dim between red, green, blue, and white, so I don't need this function. So channel 3 is going to be set all the way down. Okay. Channel 4 is my master fader function. So I won't be able to see any of my color mixing unless I have the master dim up. So I'm going to make sure that that's up. And then after I do my color mixing, I can control the intensity of my color with the master dimming function. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and make those channel configurations here on DMXis. By the way, DMXis has a MIDI learn feature, so I can use a MIDI controller or this wireless MIDI app called Touch OSC to control DMXs. And this is great because I can be out in an auditorium checking my lighting design with an interface to my operator in front of me. There are standalone mobile device DMX operators, whereas the software is loaded straight onto your DMX operator. You don't need third-party software. And all you have to do, put the software on your mobile device and buy the interface that goes with the device, and the setup will be the same as what I have here. The thing about DMXs is you can load it as a VST inside of any DAW. So if you're interested in creating light shows, lighting that's synchronized to music, that's the best way to do it. So this third-party software, Touch OSC by Hexler.com, is free and is a great way for you to control DMXs around your venue wirelessly. All right, now Touch OSC puts out MIDI messages wirelessly through a Wi-Fi system. You can go to Hexler.com to see how it works and download it for free. And what I'm going to do is use DMX's MIDI Learn feature to map my faders here on Touch OSC to my faders on DMXs. And this interface is really nice because it has 8 faders, which will give me control to my first light. And then I could switch screens and I have 8 more faders to control my second light. This is perfect for my setup because both of my lights have 8 channels of control. All right, let's go to the first light. Let's do a little bit of mapping. So what I do is I go to the first fader on DMX's, right click, go to MIDI Learn, click on Learn, and then all I have to do is move a fader and it's learning. It's mapped. All right. Now I could do the same thing with channel number 2. Now I could do the same thing with channel number 3 and so forth. So let's do a little bit of RGBW dimming. All right, again, to access this function on these lights, according to the spec sheet, channel 1 has to be set all the way down. Channel 2 has to be set all the way up. Channel 3, speed control functions for strobing and automated fades. We don't need that for what we're doing right now, so that stayed all the way down. Channel 4 is our master fader. We won't be able to see our RGB dimming unless that channel's up, so I'm going to bring it all the way up for now. That's my master fader. And now the remaining faders are for RGBW mixing. Here's my red. Here's my gray. Here's my blue. Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. And here's my white. All right. I'm going to make a purple light. We need red and blue to make purple. So I'm going to bring up some red. I'm going to bring up some blue. And now I have a purple light. If I want it to be more of a blue purple, make sure blue is more intense. If I want a bit more of a magenta, make sure that red is a little more intense. To program for light number 2, I need to access channels 9 through 16. So I'm going to change screens on Touch OSC, and these faders are mapped to channels 9 through 16 on DMXis. I want to access the same function, RGBW dimming. So channel 1 down, channel 2 all the way up, channel 3, don't need it, all the way down, channel 4, it's my master fader, so I'm going to need that up. And let's make a aqua light, a mixture of blue and green. So some green and a little bit of blue added to that will get me an aqua light. There you go. Again, these channel configurations are not going to be the same for every light. You really do need to study the spec sheet of the particular fixtures you're working with to know how to access the functions of the light and then how to control the functions of those lights. Let's access another function. Let's go back to light number 1, channels 1 through 8. All right. Now, strobing on these parkins is macro A5, and you encode that on channel 1 from channels 201 through 225, excuse me, to 255. So I'm going to max out on channel 1 to get my strobe function. Now, channel 2 allows you to select what color you're going to strobe on. Okay, so channel 2 allows me to select the color of the strobe. I'm going to scrub through channel 2 to see if I can get a purple strobe. Okay. All right. So this is set to step 54 on channel 2. All right. Now channel 3 will control my strobe rate. That's my fastest strobe. And that's a medium strobe. All right, so I'm going to take us back to RGB bidding on this first light. So I'm going to set up the channel configuration with channel 2 up, channel 3 down, channel 1 down, master up. Let's get that purple light going again. And there we have it. Now, once I get the lighting states that I want, I have to fade them into a scene. Now, saving your lighting scenes differs from DMX operator to DMX operator. In DMXis, it's very easy. Okay, all you have to do to save your scene in DMXis is go to Preset Manager. All right, click on New. Type in the name of your scene. There it is. Then what I want to do is, while the name of my scene is highlighted, click Overwrite, press OK, and there you have it. So during a show, you would go to your preset manager and select the scene you want performed. And here on the controls on the side, you can tell DMXis how quickly or slowly to fade between your scenes. You can also map your scenes to a control on a MIDI device in DMXis. I mean, I love this DMX operator. Been working with it for years. It only has one universe of control, meaning you can only control 512 channels, but even in most theaters, medium-sized theaters that I've worked in, that's been plenty of channels for the fixtures that they have. Need something with multiple universes, there are software operators that can handle multiple DMX universes. If you want thorough tutorials on how DMXis works and want to learn about all of its particular special functions, I recommend going to YouTube, type in DMXis, and there are tons and tons of tutorials out there. You might even run into my DMXis laser fixture tutorial. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I will see you all soon.